Hi, welcome everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to join us at the live event of our third panel of the fair. Today's topic is Hong Kong as a digital art hub, and we are very fortunate to have Ms. Doris Fong here from Invest Hong Kong to be our moderator. Today's topic is very important to us because as digital art fair founded and started in Hong Kong, we believe that Hong Kong will become the future of the digital art hub. And through this panel, we hope to get some expert advice on how do we develop Hong Kong as a city in the global art scene, and also how do we develop the digital art ecosystem in our society. I won't take too much of your time, but Doris and our panelists will introduce us accordingly. So I hope you enjoy the panel. If you have any questions in the end, we will have a Q&A session. So I'll pass the microphone to Doris to start the panel.
So thank you, Gillian. Thank you very much. Invest Hong Kong and I actually are very pleased to collaborate with Digital Art Fair again. Is my mic okay? All right, all right. So I'm very pleased to moderate today's talk on this very important topic, Hong Kong as the digital art hub. And of course, it's not me that's doing the talking. It's really we have distinguished guests here from different sectors of the art market. First of all, we have art auction. We also have a new startup in Web3 transformation business, and also artists in the multimedia sectors, and also a collector plus investor, I must add. So I'll give the first few minutes to our guest speakers to first introduce themselves. Maybe we start with Julia from Bonhams.
Hello, is it working? Okay, hi, I'm Julia Hu. I'm the Managing Director of Bonhams Asia. First of all, a little bit about Bonhams. It is one of the largest world auction houses covering fine art, antique, luxury, but also digital art. So talking about digital art, last year in June, Bonhams collaborated with Super Rare. Probably some of you know it's a very big digital art platform to organize the first curated collaboration between digital art platform and auction house. And in that collaboration, I think the theme is around the crypto OGs. So I think at that time, the Xcopy, Cody, all this kind of OG artists' artworks has been sold. And a little bit about myself. Before Bonhams, I worked at Christie's for almost 9 years. And last year, when I witnessed the success of Beeples, I left Christie's a little bit, trying to do a little bit exploration of digital art. So I not only bought a bit digital art NFT, but also I helped some artists, some of our artists' work also shown here, create their own digital art. And then Bonham said they are also interested in digital art, etc. So that's why I'm joining them. But today I'm very happy to be invited and share a bit of my experience and my thoughts from auction perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And Denise?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Digital Art Fair and Invest Hong Kong for having us here today. So I'm Denise, and I am the co-founder and CMO of Beam Plus Lab. Beam Plus Lab is a new startup, and it's a Web3 transformation hub, as well as a decentralized entertainment and film universe. So by our 4C operation model, which includes community, co-creation, collaboration, as well as commercialization, we have a mission to democratize the current entertainment industry and to build a creator economy via collaborations with our community members to co-create different types of digital art. So we really try to reinvent the traditional entertainment IP model by decentralizing the IP decision-making to our community members. And this would include things like by voting and participating in our character design to storytelling or even screenwriting. So by contributing and co-creating with us, our community members will have access to the IP ownership, and as well as they are able to commercialize this IP ownership by their self-initiated projects and product launches. So we have an exclusive partnership with Maya Entertainment, which is one of the largest entertainment firms in actually around the world, because they have actually over 600 movie IPs on hand. So these are very valuable assets to the Hong Kong and Chinese culture, with a lot of films that were very influential back in the 70s, the 80s, and taught a lot of the Hong Kong culture to the international audience. So our inaugural NFT project is called Cryptiques, and it's helmed by our Chief Creative Officer, Wang Xia, and also with our Hollywood animation production firm. We are able to utilize these very valuable assets, these film IPs, and reinvent them in the blockchain. And we really hope to preserve this culture onto the blockchain. So for our first NFT collection, which was back in June, it was based on the emotion desire. So we use different emotions for our different NFT launches. We have a backstory that's really robust, and it's all about storytelling for us. So back in June, when we first launched our Desire collection, it was we received overwhelming response. We had a kickoff party in online street, and we had over 1,000 people attending. We had live performances. We had by renowned musicians such as LMF and people like Cho Chuk Mo, which are indie bands in Hong Kong. We also had merchandise launches, which our community members were very excited about. And then to follow up on this success of our first launch, we're actually launching our second emotion, Fury, with Kung Fu films. So we think Kung Fu films is a great way to connect to the international market, because a lot of foreigners really like the Kung Fu culture of Chinese and Hong Kong. So we're using the 18 bronze men this time as our core pillar. So if you go downstairs, you can see the Cryptiques artwork with the 3 bronze men hitting the bell. So this is it for me.
Thank you, Denise. Victor, you also have a few artworks here, so please introduce a little bit about yourself first.
Yes, well, this is Victor Wong. I have a multiple identity, which I create visual effects for movies for a long time. I work on some of the superhero movies like Iron Man and Men in Black, that kind of thing. And then in Hong Kong, I do some sculptures. And if you go to Tema Park, you see some of the sculpture created by the AI modelings, and then I use the stainless steel to do it. And then recently, I got 500,000 visitors to the dinosaurs exhibitions in the Science Museum. That's my creations, and also the design. I put Tron and Jurassic Park together as a design. So this kind of, I think it is about like how you put things together and how you connect to your audiences in creating digital art. I have several pieces right here. One is called the Lion Rock. You will see that. The Lion Rock artwork is connected to the Hong Kong Observatory, and it's a real-time data reflections. So when it's raining outside, it will rain. And if it's like a PM 2.5, the index or the particle is very high, you will see a very foggy pictures. So I think in the later, and we have like dynamic blockchains, we may have something that's connected to real time, and then like for example, connect to your audience. Your audience will purchase your artwork. You may not just a one-time, connections. It's about future, how you connect with them, how maybe I can secretly update the artwork, and you will see Halloween pumpkins in Halloween time. So I think there is a lot of things when we go to digital. I've been like doing digital works for 30 years. In the early years, I got paid by the movies and advertising, but now we have the blockchains, we have the artists connected to the blockchains and also the smart contracts. So it's very convenient for artists or emerging artists or young people, or even I work with Mr. Lam, which is 98 years old. He's the oldest NFT artist in the world now. I think there's a lot of things we can do, and everyone can do it. So this is something I would like to see in the future, is that everyone can have their own NFT. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. So what about you, Lawrence, founder and chairman of BlackPine Group? Tell us about yourself and your interest in the arts.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting all of us to today's talk. So maybe a bit about myself, more on the business side first. I chair a business called VSFG. And VSFG traditionally has been a wealth and asset management company, so more on the investment side, as you previously said. But I think our mission has evolved. There's no point to be another asset manager, another wealth manager. And our mission really is to bring the advent of digital assets into everybody's portfolio, and then to enable these digital assets, whether it be it crypto or intellectual property or creative industries, to a wider audience, which includes everyone, right? So democratizing sort of this asset to everyone in the world, everyone in Hong Kong. So that's really what the company does, and we approach it from that angle. And there's kind of very little delineation now between what is physical real estate, what is metaverse real estate, what is art, what is intellectual property. On a personal side, BlackPine is a group that I set up with my wife, and we are collectors, and we collect entrepreneurs. We've been backing a lot of companies, a lot of smart people, connecting all around the world and in a lot of different fields. And we were very fortunate to work with a partner of mine, Jaehan Chu, who him and I set up Kinetic together in 2015. And we've been very involved in the crypto side, blockchain side, but very much between him and myself, personally invested in art. And digital art is a big thing. Art is what brought us together in the first place. As him and I were collecting traditional art and modern and contemporary art, as we know some of our friends here way back when. So aside from investing in different businesses, I think collecting art, promoting art, whether it's traditional, contemporary, traditional forms to obviously now digital medium, is something that we're super excited about. Jahan and I, along with some of the people at today's panel, we have a little chat group where we go and do studio visits and visit digital artists from all over around the world, and we encourage some of these artists, like Victor. We have a good friend on the West Coast in the US who's also been a VFX artist, and we've encouraged him to go full time to become a digital artist and really help artists to reach their goals and their dreams. I think that's a big thing that I've been trying to do all my life, all my career. So that's a little bit about me and what we do.
Thank you, Lawrence. And before we dig deep into Hong Kong as a digital art hub, actually, why don't we just talk a little bit, even though you have already touched on this topic, that digital art is important. And why is it important? Why does digital art matter? Shall we also start with the ladies first? From the art auctions point of view, maybe?
Okay, so then from the auction perspective, I think yearly auction market wants to just not follow, but it should be on a synchronized pace with the market trend. And obviously, digital art is becoming a very important trend in the recent years. So especially when more and more younger generation coming to art collection, the digital art seems to be very appealing to them. So I think that this is number one, to really meet the current market demand because of the changing of dynamics. Secondly, I think for auction market, we also want to send a signal to the broader market, including traditional art collectors. Once we auction some pieces, yearly it's a public news, so it can influence the whole market instead of only in a small circle, like OpenSea or Super Rare. Usually it's the DGen person usually go there and check the price, but auction market really wants to send the stronger message out. And I think thirdly, for auction houses, we're also trying to contextualizing the under-examined artists, not only the contemporary, but also the digital talents. So that's why I think this is one of the responsibility for auction house to show more qualified art pieces. So I think in order to give people some fresh art pieces, digital art is also a very, very important element to be added into the whole auction portfolio. So, yeah.
What about Denise, from a new startup's point of view?
Yeah, for sure. So amongst all of the Web2 IPs that are trying to enter the Web3 space right now, our exclusive partner, Maya, is one of the largest IP owner in the entertainment space right now. And we feel that a lot of the times we come to this crossroad where we think of, they have these valuable assets that are of great historical and cultural influence. But how do we do cultural preservation at the same time as reinvention? So we don't want this audience to see, these films that they grew up with many years ago in the same light that they saw this years ago. We want to have a new image and really reinvent these very classical and very valuable IP assets. So how we do this is we actually spent a lot of time in our Cryptique projects, our first NFT project, with Wing Xia, our creative lead, and also Hollywood animation team to explore different types of art tech, as well as different AI generation tools to see how we can turn these valuable cultural assets into the Web3 space for a younger audience to really disseminate the Hong Kong and Chinese culture into the global market. So this is one of our mission, and I think this is very important for digital art space.
Yes. And what about from the artist's point of view? I think for artists to create, it even gives you a much more wider opportunities to really explore, just as you mentioned before.
Yes, let's give you examples. Denise, in 1995, I created the Maya Entertainment logo. Yeah, so, wow, this is a long time ago. But I just said small world, right? Okay, at that time, how do a digital artist get paid? It's by projects, by create something out and then in advertising or movies. But if you have a leisure to create digital artwork, but before that, like NFT or others channels that you can get paid, it's really hard to have a living as an artist. So the NFT just changed our digital space. It's just changed the way that we look at the IP and how to pay tribute to the artist. That is very important because we got to have a research and then doing that work and then continuously explore. So that is something that we need funding for. Now and because NFT is a contract and it's no dimension to me. It rather is a piece of digital artwork or a piece of sculpture or even some photos of a breakfast photo. I mean, with some famous person. So there's a lot of things that you can think about, or even there's something that you haven't think about can be NFT. So that is give you a wide platform that whenever you create, try to put it on, and then you have some feedback. And then you keep inspiring by your audiences. That is very important in the old world. We just one way connected. I do some work and then my message just one way pass through. But now we get feedbacks and then keep evolving our work. And then digital file is good because you can always visit it, improve it, and then have some things that add on it. So that is something you can have this artwork 1.0, 1.5, maybe 7.6, and then you get something that different versions. But sometimes, like some of the work by my AI painter robot paintings, now it's painting colors. But people want something in the black and white age. So there's only 20 pictures. So it becomes rare. So there's something evolving, but look at some of the digital artwork here. Some tributes to retrospect of the 60s or 70s. So different style can be put together and then give it a little life. That is even Chinese ink paintings. I create animation for Hong Kong Jockey Club for the 水杯紅 animations. Let's turn a traditional 100 years ago artwork, ink paintings into life. And then I even invent the aerial shots in ink paintings. So 水墨航拍, it is a very new term, but you can create a world of ink painting and do something inside. So this is a perspective from an artist.
Yeah, it's actually very exciting, thinking of the endless possibilities as well. It can be interactive, it can also react to real-time situation, so very exciting. So from the point of view of collector or even investor, what's your thoughts on that, Lawrence?
I guess just speaking from a personal collection experience, and some of you may know, and people in the industry know, we never collect based on necessarily geography or, you know, traditional boundaries. I don't think that's the way we collect. So, including digital, it's more just what it expresses to us and how we can interpret it. And through that collecting, it's a form of patronage that has existed for a very long time. So if you look at just art collecting in general, whether it's from, you know, the imperial collection in China to the Medici's in Florence, it's just evolved over the last thousands and thousands of years in different forms, medium, and what is sort of the story of the day. So I feel also digital as a medium is just what is relevant today, and things happen very fast. I think even before digital, just talking about contemporary. When I first came back to Hong Kong in 2005, I don't think there were that many contemporary art collectors. There was very few contemporary art folks even at the auction house. And it's kind of, in the last 10, 15 years, become as big, if not bigger than even the traditional medium, right? So it changes very fast. I think for me personally, on the digital side, there's a few things. It's also, if we take a stance on how people react, behave, and observe, it's very evident that, you know, I have a couple of young kids, that digital is how they consume. So for them, this is second nature. And actually, something on the wall may be a little bit foreign to them in 10, 20 years' time. So it's just a matter of how the medium is something that they accept. So if you think about it that way, then why not as a opportunity for artists to thrive? And the advent of digital, also the patronage and collection of digital, like Victor said, is now completely democratized. So it's not just one person or very few people have access to one work or a few works. But now thousands of people all around the world from anywhere have access to one-of-ones or a dynamic NFT or a 1,000, right? And that is definitely inspiring and interesting to encourage more creativity, artists from around the world. So it kind of takes down the geographical boundaries. And I think that's the most exciting part about digital art and digital creativity.
And speaking of trends, what are the current trends in digital arts or NFTs? Because it changes so rapidly as well, right? So from Julia's point of view, what do you think? What's hot and what's not?
I think now, I think last year, beginning of last year, not many people were in this circle. So, but in the second half of last year, it seems, especially in the middle of last year, it seems as long as there's the PFT 10,000 projects yearly, the project team could gain a lot of money. But then the second half of last year, the whole market became more rationalized, and a lot of projects actually failed. So I think at least from PFP perspective, I think in the market it gets more understanding about you have to do DD before you buy. And now the strong PFP projects yearly, that one with a very strong community and potential utility embedded. That's one type of NFT. Second, I would say it's very DJing art, like a generative art. I think now people still show a lot of interest in the art blocks. I think, but that I will have to say, so far it's very hard for me to convince the traditional collector to understand and how to appreciate that. So far that's still within the crypto circle. But I think people, the DGen circle still feel very strongly confident about that. And now they feel it should be the right time to buy when the price is very low. But I would say the audience is going to be small until we see the whole crypto circle quickly expanding later on. And then the third one is really what I define it as a fine art. It's a digital fine art like Victor, you are doing. I think last year people thought any JPEG or any repeated video could work. But this year, if you see Victor's thing, he really used technology and trying to embed the digital art into a sculpture format, trying to let people understand you can interact with that instead of just like a screensaver. So I think for this fine art, I think artists now trying to improve further. And I think one of the artists I like is Rafik Anadel. You probably have seen his record in Christie's. So I think in terms of fine art trend, I believe both this part of art could possibly unleash the potential from the traditional art collectors' perspective because they know how to appreciate. So I think for me, I just group NFT into three, and that's my view about the trends of three categories.
So what about from the collector's point of view, Lawrence?
That's a tough question. I agree with Julia.
And
Yeah, I think, again, more personal than anything else. I don't know what's hot and what's not. I think it's just what I like and what maybe our friends like. Just how we collect art in general. And I do feel for us, it's more on the fine art side. Yes, we do have teams that run PFP collections and community aspects, but it's for a different purpose. But personally, in kind of my collection, I'm very excited about what's happening on the digital art side. You know, met up with Victor a couple months back, I think, to look at his work, and it's much more meticulous. I think it's much harder than one thinks. Even if you have a very good, and I've spoken to many traditional artists, and they also, I want to get into this NFT thing. I was like, well, do you know what do you want to do? It's like, it's not that easy. I think, you have to give Victor and artists who use this medium a lot of respect because it's hard to create great work. And at the end of the day, as a collector, we want to collect works that we appreciate, and other people will have similar views, and it creates also, a pause for people to think, rather than just a nice image for instant gratification. So everyone has their own angle into this, but personally, we are collecting more artwork and digital artwork.
And also because digital art opens up so many opportunities for collaboration and for convergence of the creative sectors, like film, music, gaming, entertainment. So maybe from a startup point of view and the artist point of view, how do you see this trend? Is it more and more convergence coming?
Sure. So I think everyone knows it's been a bear market for the crypto market for the past few months, and there are much less transactions, much less active users across all sorts of Web3 platforms, such as even Discord. I mean, a lot of people are really not very engaged on Discord anymore. It used to be huge back in the early 2022. So because of this, we feel that actually this market rewards projects that are willing to keep delivering and keep building through this crypto winter. It's very important to show your community or as an NFT project to them that, to keep trusting you guys and to really keep having these very visible deliverables and to keep up their promise to the community. So for us, like our Cryptiques project, we make it a mission to really follow through our roadmap that we provide to our community by such as, we have, physical merches, we have different types of exhibitions, like even today downstairs we're showcasing our Cryptiques collection. So we make it, we really try to demonstrate to our audience and our community that we are delivering actual work, and we keep having, upcoming NFT launches to show them that we are actually growing. So I think it is of utmost important to show our audience about the growth of the project. And also back to, the current trend, I think film and actually digital has a great connection. So like digital art, film requires a very artistic and cinematic treatment to the artwork. And we feel that both digital art and films, they both really resonate and connect to people's emotions. So that's why we really stress the importance of different visual elements and different musical elements for our NFTs. So for our auction piece back in July, when we did an auction with Sotheby's, we actually incorporated many international musicians and different animation teams from Hollywood, their work into the auction piece. So we feel like this could be an upcoming trend for us as well.
What about Victor?
Yes, I think different collectors have their own ways to collect things and also the purpose. Some would like to do the investment. Some is really just love the artist. As an artist, I love the later part. Yeah. There's it is. I think the trend is really hard to as an artist think about the trend, because if you follow the trends, you're creating something that's already created. So if I would like to choose, I would like to be a style maker or trends maker that to create something now that can let people think about that. Some topics, for example, life and death, environmental issues, or even sex. So this is some of the topic we connected to humans. I think if the artwork, whether it's like a traditional artwork, it is the same thing as an NFT artwork, because the story is behind it. If it's connected to the audience, the audience will love it. Otherwise, it's just something beauty and then beautiful and then just 鏡水花月. It is like the moon reflections on water. it just goes away at any time. So I think this is the trend. If you ask the fashion designer, what's the trend in 2023, they will have like certain coming out. I think that somehow you can predict it, or somehow you see people's love something all on the internet. The discussions, lots of discussions in Discord and Twitter, and then you may know, people are looking for that. And sometimes when the NFT coming out, even the project that not successful, look at it. Why is not successful? Then you find something that maybe the markets have, it's a mass market, I think, whether they is tired about it or really want to take a look at the new things. So this is, I as an artist, that I look at what is trend in the NFT.
Okay, so now I think it's time to dive deeper into today's topic. Even though what we have just discussed actually reflects the trends in Hong Kong as well as in Asia. But Hong Kong as a digital art hub, so that's today's topic. And we see changes in Hong Kong in the last 2 years on the digital art scene, which is so encouraging, and it's really transformative as well. So to all speakers here, what do you think Hong Kong's role here is? Is Hong Kong, first of all, the art hub of Asia, the digital art hub of Asia? What's your thoughts on that? Who wants to start?
I think, number one, from art perspective, Hong Kong, of course, so far is still the center of art. So I believe digital art, because of the collectors here, as well as we have many talented artists here, and also some international artists also willing to come to Hong Kong because of the overall art infrastructure. So I think from art itself, I'm sure, yes. Secondly, I have to say it's about the technology to support digital art. I remember there's one news saying Hong Kong is a PolyU is ranking very high among the crypto research among all the global universities. And I think in terms of the technology education-wise, I think Hong Kong government as well as institutions have invested very firmly in digital. So I think that's another thing. Thirdly, I would think just a joke. I think there are already a lot of sunk costs for art institutions like auction house. We set up many people here. So we have to make it happen together with the government and everyone. So yeah, I think yes, Doris.
As an artist, also, I noticed that a lot of things have been done by the government, and it's like they're in the forefront setting up like a Denise digital hub that we can do performance, because in a new digital era, like anything that can be as a recording or performance, they all can be NFT. So I think it's not just pictures; it's about music too, and also the drama, the dance. A lot of, even like Hong Kong Ballet, we have an NFT here. So that's very interesting. And you look at it, it is totally different from others. And you will see how different sectors can create some work that is permanent. I mean, it's different from the mass market. And then Hong Kong is a place that is combining East and West for a long, long time. And we're good to have Jackie Chai's today, and then we have the immersive room. And this is somehow we marked some samples, and those samples accumulate together. And then because to be a hub, it is not just talking. It should have some examples, happenings, and future plans. I think in the upcoming plans rolled out by the government, and also others houses, and also like new startups. They have plans that make is a collective effort to make Hong Kong as a digital art hub. Yeah, it's not just one or two persons. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a collective effort. And Lawrence, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think Hong Kong is, in general, a hub for Asia, whether it's finance or arts and culture. So I think that will continue to exist. So we have to examine our role as a hub for Asia and not just within Hong Kong. I think that's what makes us stronger, especially not so much to compare ourselves to Singapore or Seoul, but how do we work with these cities and talent and people in these different jurisdictions to enhance the overall kind of experience for people in each of the cities. I think from a more official sort of angle, we probably know that in the Chinese government's plans, it's very clearly earmarked that Hong Kong's role is in culture and finance. So, there's nothing to read between the lines. It's pretty much very clearly written there last time around and this time around. So I think it's up to us in order to use that to our advantage. And again, kudos to Heyman and Gillian and their team for putting this together. And I know they have bigger ambitions as well. And it's not just in Hong Kong, but around the world. And it all started from here. So I think both as an arts hub and digital arts hub, we have a lot of room to go and to lead the way.
So from a startup point of view, what do you think about Hong Kong as a digital hub?
So I think everyone knows that there's a lot of very big NFT projects out there, like the blue chip NFTs we've all heard of, like Apes. These are all originated from like US and Europe. And there are very little projects in Hong Kong or Greater China right now that are, really recognized by the international Web3 community. So with our unique positioning and with our access to, such vibrant cultural IP assets of media entertainment, we really hope to become the bridge between the Oriental culture and the international market, and really bring these assets to light in the Web3 community. So we think that this is of great importance. And then also, I think Asian is actually a big, like the global Web3 community is actually made up of a lot of Asians. It's a very big part of the Web3 community. We have community leaders in our NFT project critiques that are also community leaders in other NFT projects, such as Mind Blow On, which is a very renowned project in Indonesia, and also in, I think, Singapore, and as well as Thailand. There are lots of increasingly popular NFT projects that are doing so well. They all have, over over millions of different followers. So I think that this is a huge community and a great importance to the Asian market. And also, apart from critiques, we also have a members-only club called Wave, where we really connect Web 2 and Web 3 together. So we're actually also showcasing at the VIP launch today. So we have a wide network of different blue chip NFT holders from around the world. They're from Web 2 or Web 3 space. They have influence in their own respective industries. So we're actually blending in different cultures from around the world as well.
And even though today's speakers, Gillian, you are not part of the speakers here, but I really want to extend this question to you as an art fair founder, especially as digital art. And we're talking about Hong Kong as a digital art hub. So how can we not have the perspective from the art fair's point of view? Can you share your perspective? Is it okay? I'm sorry, cameraman, that I am jumping a little bit, that I want to interview Gillian as well. You want to say a few words on this topic?
Yeah, of course. I'll share my 2 cents. I think Hong Kong historically, all of us working in Hong Kong will share the same view as we are an art hub. In Asia especially, we are the #1 art trading hub. Even today, I was talking to Gillian about the auction is still very strong in Hong Kong. Gallery-wise, there is still nowhere else better than in whole Asia to be in Hong Kong, because we have a really strong financial background in the city, as well as all the different startup, and different companies that actually been based in Hong Kong for many years. That infrastructure is not easy to take away. Last 3 years, obviously, it's been very difficult for a lot of different industry, not to just say art. We're probably the last industry to complain about anything right now. However, as difficult as it is, we're having Hong Kong as a digital art hub, it is something that we know is going to happen. Looking at some of the biggest companies that are still based in Hong Kong, such as Animoca, Sandbox, one of our partners now being here in Hong Kong, saying that there's a potential here to grow our industry and our next generation to be appreciating how digital assets will become not just a part of the portfolio, probably, 30-40% of the portfolio right now. It is a future, it is a vision that we have in here, we have at the fair, and also for the long-term development of the city. Being said that, I'm sure Lawrence will give you a better kind of analysis, and Julia have a better analysis of how the market will behave or will continue to perform. I wouldn't look at this year as overall numbers. So you just like if you look at a stock, you wouldn't look at just yesterday how it performed. You look at the overall statistic that how it been overall the last 2 years, 3 years, and you predict what's going to happen. I believe Hong Kong will continue being a financial hub / art and tech hub, which is already showing us a very strong proof that this is going to happen. Art hub, I'm not even worried about anywhere else. No other place is better to trade art than Hong Kong, which is just a fact. And with the strong gallery support and the strong brand and technology business growing in Hong Kong continuously, not to say Invest Hong Kong, you guys have been doing a great job bringing all the business in Hong Kong. I believe that we will continue thrive as a strong art and financial digital art hub in Asia.
It's very encouraging as well. And I also want to add a question for all of you here, because when we talk about Hong Kong these days, it's not just about Hong Kong, it's about the Greater Bay Area. So what's your thoughts are on Greater Bay Area? What sort of opportunities? Sorry, I improvised these questions. You are not prepared, I know. But I really want to touch on it. So what are your thoughts on the Greater Bay Area? Do you find opportunities? Well, Hong Kong is part of the Greater Bay Area, of course, but we have talked a lot about Hong Kong. What other opportunities can you see in the Greater Bay Area?
I can talk about this because I have my studio in Foshan, which is Foshan, way back in 2001, which is 20 years.
That's a long time.
Early investment.
Yes, early investor. Before we even talk about Greater Bay Area, right?
And I've from time to time in these 20 years, you see people's the standard of living is getting higher and higher, and also there's the different areas or province that have their own kind of history, and they are kind of creating museums for the like for clay, the craftsmanship, and some for the like wine, and even some for some stones. Yeah, there's a lot of different museums coming up. And as because if you want to have developments and all that, you need to have an environment. And then if everyone is talk about, we need to go to a museum, we want to go to see the art hub, and there's more and more requests of like digital representations of the traditional materials. For example, clay. How do you represent clay in the digital world? And they have like scanners, and they have like a real-time manipulations of like modeling, just like clay. That's kind of thing they're looking for. So I think when more and more museums are set up in the Greater Bay Area, there's I think we should go there and take a look. Yeah, and then we can set up collaborations between Hong Kong, and there's like several provinces that you can work with. There's lots of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, I think agree. Number one, I think in Greater Bay, Greater Bay Area.
Yes.
A lot of private business owners, like in Foshan, there's a He Museum owned by Media. That's a very big electronical equipment company. They already starting collecting contemporary, but I'm sure with the trend of the digital art, the more and more big private collectors, they were moving to that. So I think in terms of the client base, it's actually bigger than Hong Kong. That's number one. Number two, I think Shenzhen, everybody knows, is very famous for technology, screens. It's much cheaper. So I think if for digital artists, you want to have your art be, customized in a custom screen or sculpture, I think they have lower, cheaper options for many artists who want to pilot. Thirdly, I think Hong Kong has a lot of skyscrapers, but I believe in Greater Bay Area, there are many buildings. That K11 in Guangzhou I visited is huge. And in such a kind of a public shopping mall, etc., digital art is going to be very attractive. I've heard clients asking for district, now showing K11 Hong Kong as well, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of digital art will be appreciated and viewed by many, many people in Greater Bay Area. And this is going to influence the next generation's collector. So I think that's a great question. And I do believe it's going to give Hong Kong more strength to develop.
Anything from the other two speakers? If not, I can jump into the other question.
Quickly, just I think I read a really good piece by Matthias Wu, an op-ed in SCMP about how the creative industries between Hong Kong and Greater Bay can coexist, and some very forward-thinking ideas, even about how people in these two vicinities can travel more freely, and particularly supporting the creative industry. So I think for sure, even as we've been speaking with a few folks from Invest Hong Kong and Hong Kong government recently, not necessarily directly on digital art, but in crypto and in Web3, which is obviously very much close to digital art. A lot of discussion about what changes to be made in Hong Kong to incorporate a wider audience, but also attract talent, particularly talent from China to be in Hong Kong, right? And I think there's a huge number of talented people in China who are more interested and want to do this type of activity that probably wants to be in Hong Kong. So I think that's an area that the government, I think, is working on, as well as education. I think there's a lot of education that needs to be done both sides of the border in order for this to thrive.
And a follow-up questions to your comment just now. So in terms of Hong Kong, so what role or what should Hong Kong continue to do in order to support the development of digital art in our city?
So for Hong Kong, which is also part of the Greater Bay Area, I think we have a very unique position right now because China's blockchain and their own crypto market might not be very connected to the international world right now. But then Hong Kong right now can serve as the bridge to connect Chinese culture and really disseminate Chinese culture into the international platform, and really how to re-export this kind of Oriental culture. So I think this is very unique positioning for Hong Kong right now.
Yes, and I also want to borrow Gary Liu's, founder of Art Feedback Labs, his comments about this point that Denise has pointed out, that Hong Kong actually has a very unique position, that we can bring together a very different metaverse and a very different digital world in China, as well as that on the West. And we always has been this center of East meets West culture, as you, as the speakers here has pointed out. So we can continue this in the Web3 world and the metaverse or digital. I think we have a bigger role to take as well.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, last week was Azuki week, as I'm sure a lot of people were aware. I mean, Azuki came to Hong Kong and made quite an impact and noise in the market. Actually, we had the pleasure of hosting the Azuki team in our office, and we showed them our Bronze Man NFTs and Kung Fu NFTs. And they were very excited to see that, and we're doing such projects in Hong Kong right now. And I think it's really exciting and very encouraging for us to be connecting these Oriental culture to the U.S. market, and having these connections with these U.S. projects that are really, almost #1 in the globe right now.
And back to another questions about startups, because Denise, having your own startup here in Hong Kong, which just started a few months ago, right, this year. Can you share with us, is it easy to start a business here, or a Web3 business, for that matter, in Hong Kong?
I think right now, I mean, earlier this year, there was a huge influx of different PFP projects in Hong Kong, and that they were able to maybe collect the first wave of money, and then maybe did not deliver so many results and as they promised in the roadmap. And this made a lot of people in Hong Kong quite unsure and uncertain about purchasing upcoming NFT launches that are based in Hong Kong and are from Hong Kong. So like I said before, I think it's really important to show our community that, we are not just another PFP project out there to just capture the first wave of money. We're actually here to build a sustainable project, and we really hope to disseminate Hong Kong culture into the international community.
And apart from the positive side, I also want to look at the challenges that we might be facing. Maybe not just Hong Kong, maybe for the digital world. But what do you think the challenges that we have to face in terms of so many different things? Education, we just mentioned, cybersecurity, the volatility of the market. So what do you think, what sort of challenges that we should really look into? Regulations?
Yeah, I think that's at the government perspective. You already covered all the points. But I think also from collectors' point of view, looking about the traditional art, you usually have authority, they have museum, they have institutions, and they have critics can guide the collectors. But I think for NFT, it's really at a very, very nascent stage. Think about imprint mold. When the bunch of artists are trying to create an impressionist model, no one really understood how to appreciate that. So I think now the difficulty is not only from a government regulation perspective, is how to make collectors understand how to appreciate. Maybe Lawrence can share more. But I think Invest Hong Kong, Doris, your team doing a very helpful. At least you're trying to set up a bunch of very nice forums, invite different opinions to at least give some seeds into collectors' perspective. And maybe, unfortunately, at the current stage, each collector needs to form your own idea. There's no right or wrong, but it's very, very nascent stage.
Yeah, and I see our role actually for Invest Hong Kong is really to do more education. And we support a lot of partners events, and in doing educational talks, it's not just about Hong Kong, it's really about the market and how we can be better in that market. But we do have some Q&A, and I'm sorry, we have so many questions, and now I only have 5 minutes left for the Q&A. So I'll just take 1 or 2 questions here. So how do the speakers here see the future for the emerging digital art market or digital fine art market?
Go ahead.
As an artist, I'm always positive. So, and even there's negative things, yin yang, negative and positive always be pairs. So be prepared as an artist or a creators. Be prepared for the new challenge is to equip yourself. If you're good at digital work, and then you might take some art classes. If you are good at art and not the digital world, try to understand it or collaborate with someone. So this always equip yourself is the best shield. Yeah.
I'm super excited about it. I think it's a couple of combinations. Even during this downturn where things are a bit more quiet, actually, I think things get done, right? And in the quietness. So, from kind of my little understanding of what's happening behind the scenes, there's a lot of tooling taking place, a lot more accessibility. And I guess collecting art is not so much, maybe slightly different from collecting PFPs in the sense that, it's eye of the beholder. I mean, typically we're not collecting it because we think it's going to go up 10x, but we just kind of like it and want to hang it on the wall. So I think that is something that the education needs to take place. And, most works are probably not going to be tens of thousands of dollars, maybe in the hundreds or thousands of Hong Kong dollars. So it's very accessible. So as the tooling comes and more is collected, then I think the market continues to thrive because it just gives more opportunities. And really for the next wave, we see probably because of the age group of who is coming in, and what is the tooling and the content being driven into this market, probably the next billion users or entrants into Web3 is in the gaming side. And that is sort of an easy way to get involved in kind of Web3 crypto digital. And that will pave the way for people to collect art and different parts of the whole web ecosystem.
And we already see some very interesting work from, like, say, Index Game here, together in collaboration with Sandbox. So it's actually blurring the boundaries of the creative sectors as well. But I want to go back to one of the questions that I haven't had a chance to ask Lawrence. In terms of Hong Kong, because for the new startup scenes, actually, especially in Web3, we need a lot of capital. We need a lot of investment. Do you think we have enough, or we have a good bunch, a good pool of investors here in Asia and in particular in Hong Kong?
There's never enough money.
Yes, I know your answer. This is also the answer that the startups are
actually,
hoping.
Duncan gave me a couple of interesting statistics, right? So I don't know how the actual details, but he was saying, of course, there's been a lot of activity in Singapore, especially this year, and the registered number of venture funds, I think, went from 50 to 500 or something like that. And then Hong Kong theoretically has around 600 venture capital firms, and this is not Web3, this is just general. And he was saying, but in Hong Kong, the capital is 10 times the size of Singapore. So interestingly, there's still a lot of capital here as it's a kind of still is one of the three main financial centers in the world. But I don't think that's the real issue. I mean, I think educating and continue to grow the hub in order to have venture capitalists and supporters to be able to connect with entrepreneurs on a more day-to-day basis. I think that's very important. But to be frank, I think we invest globally, right? So a lot of our projects are finding investors globally. I mean, and this is sort of a Zoom COVID situation / Web3, like very much a Web3 thing. I think depending on the type of projects, you'll see projects with 100 logos, right? Because they want to be connected into every single ecosystem, and they're collecting maybe $50,000 or very small amounts from each of them, and the capital required to do certain technical projects are not, $50 million US, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of good projects, bootstrapping, and then being able to launch with very, very little capital. I mean, depending on what you do. So the opportunity in terms of capital is global, but of course we can always use more support. And I've been obviously very, very vocal with the government that we need to create an ecosystem to support both the venture kind of industry, but also the entrepreneurs on the ground.
So in terms of the ecosystem, is there anything else that is missing? Sorry, I improvise as well. Yeah? We are all good?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think talent is a huge shortage right now in the Web3 market, especially in Hong Kong. We just started this business earlier this year, and I think we had quite a hard time looking for suitable talents in this sector because Web3 is so new, and a lot of people were interested to get into this business, but actually it's a very specific skill set. Actually, it's very there are so many disciplines required in the Web3 world, like from marketing, from even designers, to even blockchain developer. These are all very specific skill set that I think the market is coming to realize, and people are starting to get engaged and interested. But I think it will still need some time for everyone to be, really familiar with all the skills that are required. And I think education is going to be vital in this respect. How do we really educate the Hong Kong audience about the importance of this, and whether institutions are providing the right support and the resources to build this?
And I'm sure you all know that in the policy address, the chief executive has also tackled this very important issue about talent acquisition. And there are also many policies to be in place to attract more talents in different technology fields or other fields that Hong Kong needs. And for the Web3, I think it's not just Hong Kong, but a lot of places are still looking for very good talents. So we will try our best to improve the system and attract more tech talents in this side. So last but not the least, I think I'm already overrun, but I really want to have maybe a few more minutes to ask from a startup point of view, because I think many Invest Hong Kong companies that we support are also from the startup side, especially in the Web3 world. So any tips for them when starting a Web3 business in Hong Kong?
Because during my garden leave after Christie's, I tried a little bit. So I think the very positive thing about starting your Web3 business, there are many, many people who wants to give you advice. Lawrence, we met during that period. And I think people are very open-minded. They are willing to share. But then you have to think about it, what you can take, what you cannot. This is the first thing. Secondly, I think a lot of people, maybe last year, a lot of people got a lot of money by doing startup. But I would say now the whole market is rationalized. So to start your own Web3 business, you probably cannot earn money very fast. There are going to be some painful period for you, whether you can hold that together with your team. I think that's super important. And thirdly, I think be adaptive. At the same time, you have to be persistent, because NFT world, digital art market, they change every time. For me, I feel, oh, this is really another world when I jump myself into this water. So I think trying to learn new things maybe is quite different versus traditional business. So yeah, just the three pieces.
All right. Anything else to add? Okay. So I think, so thank you very much. Time's up, and I just want to congratulate Digital Art Fair for another very successful year. And if our online audience haven't had a chance to come and visit yet, please do so until the 6th of November. And last but not the least, I want to thank all of our speakers here sharing all your very wonderful insights for Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.